first all-plus-size panel talk show where we bring you our weekly roundup on all things politics, pop culture, fashion, and more. Now, please help me welcome my beautiful co-hosts, Nzinga, Kimberly, and if you don't know, we have done a nationwide casting call where we are trying to find the next lady to grab a seat here with us at the Hips table. Please help us welcome one of our hopefuls, Miss Tanika West. We are so excited to have her. She hopefully is going to add a little pop of pizzazz to the table with us. So we're getting ready to jump right in. I'm Joy Tribble, and this is Hips TV. Ladies, ready to jump in?
Ready.
Let's begin.
All right, so Snapchat recently posted an ad asking users would they rather slap Rihanna or punch Chris Brown. They had a lot of backlash from users as well as Rihanna, saying that this was a mockery of domestic violence. Do you think they went too far?
Yeah, I think they went too far. I mean, I think we already know the history behind, can we call it alleged anymore? Or was it, is it factual that he knocked her upside her head? Okay, so he did hit her. So why would they kick up dirt again? That's what I feel like. I feel like you're pulling off the Band-Aid, of a, I don't want to say it's still sensitive, but anytime somebody hits you upside your head, there's always going to be a soft spot for that particular situation.
No, I don't know, because I can see it both ways. Like, it's social media, people. Like, for real, it's entertainment. Right. It is not like it wasn't on CNN. It wasn't on news. What I'm saying is that it wasn't posted. Like, CNN did not say, hey, would you like to slap Chris Brown or punch Rihanna? It was on Snapchat. It's entertainment.
I was just about to say, Snapchat is so influential now in our current culture. So there has to be some level of responsibility in some of the things that you do. I'm not saying that, you can't be edgy, but do you think that they crossed the line?
I don't think they crossed the line.
Okay.
And this is the reason why. When you look at it from a social media perspective,
right?
We cannot. The only time they cross the line is when we have a love for the person, in my opinion. So then all these offenses that come about, I mean, with everything on social media, we're very contradictory and we choose what we're going to take offense to or what's crossing the line. It's social media. At this point, it's
But I think we do that anyway. We do that. We decide what we're going to be offended by. Like if Nzinga said something to you and you was like, oh girl, that's fine. But then Tanika said something you don't really care for Tanika too tough. You're going to be like, you should probably watch your mouth when you're talking to me. You know what I mean? So I think we pick and choose what we want to be offended by. But I also think that's old news. So why are we still bringing that up?
Well, maybe it's intentional. Let's just be honest. A lot of times when you're dealing with algorithms and you're dealing with the social media, these spikes and what have you, almost like H&M. Have y'all went in H&M yet? Remember when they did their thing?
No, and they don't have enough plus size cute clothes.
I know, right. But it's one of those things that I believe it's so reckless that it's like, was this intentional? Are you trying to?
Well, that's what I said.
Well, that didn't cause a good start because their stocks actually took a plummet. They lost millions of dollars because
millions turn into it goes up and down. That's just how it goes all the time.
Well, what bothers me so much is that when stars do stupid stuff, such as that, so that they can boost their ratings, so somebody can talk about them. Like, do you really think that Beyonce wasn't the one that released the tape of her what's the baby's name? Blue, putting her hands down at that caused such a stir. Yeah,
but this is domestic violence. So that was a mother and a daughter sort of doing mommy-daughter thing. Yeah, this is domestic violence.
I just feel like they do stuff, like stars do stuff just to, get a little earth. But since they didn't do this, now you in the news, Rihanna. Like, I ain't heard nothing about you in a long time.
Well, I have. Let me tell you something. Honey, Rihanna is a plus size, okay? Rihanna been eating chicken and macaroni and cheese and cornbread.
That's why
we Rihanna. Yes, you are invited to the Hips table, okay, Rihanna? Come on, girl.
We got room for your hips right here. Okay? We got room for your hips. I guess I just kind of feel like, maybe it should have been about somebody more important. Like, maybe it should have been like, do you want to slap Donald Trump or punch the Secretary of State,
Betsy DeVos?
Because can you imagine that she went on national TV and said she did not intentionally not visit schools that were underperforming? Like, first of all, she sounded like a total and complete idiot. Like, I was offended by the way she sounded on TV. Not to mention, she has only visited private schools and schools that are over charters and stuff because she's done that her whole life. Yeah. She went to a private school. Yeah. She went to a private college. She knows nothing about the schools that are underperforming.
Well, and to your point, I think, it was a 60 Minutes interview where the controversy is occurring.
Yes,
Well, it's been a
yes.
controversy, but this is where the interview happened with her and Leslie Stahl. And Leslie Stahl, as we all know, is a veteran, reporter.
And she's awesome,
She's
by
veteran.
the way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you can't go to 60 Minutes and to Leslie Stahl without having all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted.
She
And the
tried
sad
it.
part about
She
it, she
tried
tried.
it.
But the sad part about it is Leslie Stahl asked her a poignant question about schools in Michigan. And Michigan is
home
Betsy's
state.
home state.
Right.
And she hadn't visited the schools that were underperforming. And so for you to be the Secretary of Education.
Right.
And Nzinga, you're a teacher. So give us, what do you
Give
think
it.
about this?
Just her whole stance in general, where it's this reward system where you're pitting schools against each other that
Yeah.
already have different advantages.
Yeah.
How are you going to take money from schools that are underperforming and give them to schools that are overperforming and leaving these kids who are already struggling, who are already dealing with all these other situations,
Right.
Yeah.
just alone and in
Yeah.
the dirt with less money than they started out? And it's not like these private schools don't already have funding from various
Right.
places.
And donors
Right.
and all of these,
So
corporate
why would
entities.
you
Yeah.
pour more money into that and leaving these kids stranded, the ones who really need it, the ones who need that extra money for extra tutoring or extra food? Because there's so many things that go into those kids underperforming.
It sounds like the tax plan.
But did you hear?
You know what I mean? Where we're
Right.
taking from the middle class and the poor
Right.
and
Well,
giving
look
to
at
the
this-
wealthy. It's what it
absolutely.
sounds
Look at
like
this
to
person.
me.
This is a billionaire. This is a person
Yeah.
that
Right.
comes
Yeah.
from
He
a
doesn't
wealth.
know
They're
wealth.
Always
so
been a billionaire.
dispositioned. She can't even, just like the president. They can't even
can't
engulf
relate.
it. They can't
Yeah.
even relate. You're dealing with a person that's always been at the penthouse top,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're
right.
taking that billion-dollar money approach and trying to put it into a public school, whereas the whole dynamics changed.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
it completely changed. So when you're sitting there and you're putting these things out, that's why she seems so displaced. I think she's an idiot, but I also think she got some sense. In the essence of, in regards to money, she's a businesswoman. But when you have let's just be honest, we all know she has no background in education.
Right.
We do know that.
Okay, so let's start right there. No background in education. Here it is. You haven't even visited school. Now, I will say this. We haven't made it too easy, and I'm not taking any sides, but we have not made it any easier for her to visit these
It's her
schools.
home state.
It is her home
Let's
state.
just
I
start
told-
in her own background.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Just because the
But
schools are rough?
Well, no, she has visited certain schools.
I think
and
I'm
she-
sure I understand your
They
point.
won't let her in. They've had backlash. They've had protests.
Oh,
They've
for
Right.
her to come
Yeah.
to
Because
the
she was
school.
supposed to be the speaker at one of the HBCUs,
And they
the
did. I saw
students
they
like
booed
turned
her.
their
Yeah,
back
yeah,
on
they
her,
did. They
like
did.
they arrested some
They
kids.
did. They did.
Because
But you know what I think that is? I think if you show people, if you put some action behind some things, then people will be more willing and open and apt to welcoming you
Yeah.
Yes.
into a situation
Absolutely.
where the conversation can then be had. But if you are toting or taking money away from underperforming schools, to me, I feel like it's deliberate. And then you expect me to be like, oh girl, come on in, have a seat at the table,
Right,
let's sip some tea.
right.
Girl, no ma'am. We cussing you out and we're gonna boot you right on out of here.
Well, my other thing is that like she had these Cracker Jack box statistics. Well, statistics show, ma'am, just because you got that off a rapper from Bazooka does not mean that that's a statistic. Statistics show that schools in where people can choose where they want to go.
She got bubblegum facts.
Right,
She got bubblegum
ma'am,
facts.
that statistic don't even make no sense. Where you get that from? Help me to help you to help me to understand where you get that from.
No, I agree. I think it's sad, and I think it shows our current state of affairs and
Right.
that our children are suffering. I think that's the bigger issue, is that our children are suffering, and we need to be more vigilant. I think people think that the presidency is the only time when it's important to vote.
Absolutely
But we have
not.
to be far more involved in our
Absolutely.
local, our
Absolutely.
city, our state government affairs, so that, because these people go up the chain, they go up the ladder.
Right.
Unless you're handpicked.
Well, I'll say this.
Exactly.
If we can get billions for Wakanda, okay?
Right.
For Black Panther,
And Jordan.
we can get the billions
I
for our
agree.
schools since
I
our
agree.
government
Right.
won't do it.
I agree.
But speaking of schools, I have a sensitive topic, okay? Unfortunately, Florida prosecutors are seeking the death penalty for Nicholas Cruz, who recently committed that heinous crime, the school shooting at Parkland High School, okay?
Wow.
And so my question is, do you believe, now his defense attorneys want,
Life.
Life. They want life imprisonment. Should we take a more humanitarian approach?
No.
Okay.
Let me just cut you off. No.
Or should we go for the death penalty. Now, this is a
Go ahead, get into it.
okay. So for me, I'm coming from a law enforcement background. I embrace my Second Amendment rights and all these things. I used to be for the death penalty. I am not. I am absolutely not. I believe is a contradictory to. I know.
To what though?
It's a contradictory to
Contradiction.
contradiction.
Right.
Okay. To our system. I don't think we should seek
a life.
death for someone who's taken it. To me, you're actually rewarding the situation.
So you're saying not a life for a life. You don't
No,
believe in that.
I do not.
How about a life
that's
for
hard.
17
now,
lives?
Now, I understand.
Oh,
now,
okay.
now, let me tell you, if it was my baby, if it was my sister, if it was my brother, I don't know if I could say that right now.
Here's my challenge. Here's my challenge is that the justice system is supposed to be blind. It's supposed to be blind justice. But the reason why certain people don't feel the way you feel is because the justice system isn't blind. You see that our black boys and our black
Right.
men go to jail for far less crimes and stay for much, much longer than Nicholas Cruz, who deliberately killed 17 people. And if he wanted to, he could have gotten away with more.
Because he was walking
Yeah,
down
he
the street
wanted to
a
do
mile
more.
away.
But our system failed him.
What system?
The school system failed. This was not something that
Come
they didn't.
on,
They
Kim.
nicknamed this kid the school
on.
shooter. This
on,
wasn't
Kim.
something. I'm sorry. The system failed him. It just like it
Failed
failed
him.
those students.
Failed him in what way, though?
It failed in a lot of ways. Like, okay, now you're talking about incorporating the gun law system. In Florida's going to have to take some responsibilities for this.
I don't think we're disputing that. I think the challenge here is death penalty or life in prison for killing 17 people. They're asking about humanity. Where was the humanity for those
We can't.
17 children?
We can't.
So you have to look at school shootings historically. So there's been over 200 people killed in school shootings. Okay, now out of those school shootings, like 90% of the people killed themselves
Okay.
after they shot these people. The other ones, none of them are serving, were sentenced to death. None of them. None of them. All of them were life without parole, life without the possibility of parole, charged. I have not seen not one of them.
To your point, Philando Castillo,
Absolutely.
Trayvon Martin.
Absolutely.
Didn't even get the trial.
What's the young man that in Ferguson? Mike Brown. That's 3 black boys.
But that's not the
But my
that's not the
point-
topic.
But it's not the topic. But my point
Right.
is, it is the topic as it relates to whether or not he should get the death penalty or spend life in jail, because these were unarmed black dudes
With no trial.
with no trial, and none of their killer shooters are gonna die.
But that, to me, the other side of that would be the next white person that the cop pulls over, should they get shot? The flip side is not, should this kid who killed 17 people be shot? That's not
It's not about being
equal.
shot, it's about the punishment.
Will be punished.
It's about the
that-
punishment.
Be punished with death. That's not equal. That's not the same. That's not both sides of the same piece of paper. That's a whole nother piece of paper.
Well, let me tell to kind of step outside of that, okay? To somewhat step outside of that. When you're looking at the death penalty, we have to look at it from a very broad spectrum. So if we're gonna bring him into this situation, Nicholas, we gotta bring all these other people that's on the death penalty, and guess what? Who have been found to be not guilty. Now, I know he's guilty. Look,
And done
he is
the
not.
crime.
He,
And done far less
done
crimes.
all
we
that.
have a due process, and I'm one. Our government is broken. I was part of that broken, system, but I do believe in it, and I just don't believe we should take, an eye for an eye in this situation. I'm not for the death penalty, never will be.
I just think some responsibility needs to be taken. I mean, when you go to other countries like China, this stuff doesn't happen because their laws against it are so strict that people know better than to do
But they
such
still
heinous
happen.
crimes. Come on, things can happen, but the percentage is far less.
less.
To where it doesn't even register on the radar in terms of will this qualify as
But that's a communistic
shooting. It
government.
might be, but I think that we should institute some types of boundaries or parameters. There needs to be some reform.
but if
And I
it's-
think we
and
can
it
all
starts
agree
with
on
gun
that.
law.
I think we'd agree on that, and I agree with you there.
Just
But
in,
if you
just
look
in the States, this is not the first shooting
Correct.
since this year
Absolutely.
started. There's school
School
shootings
shootings
all
all
the
the
time.
time.
there's one
And
after this one.
Yeah, it happened here in Georgia. Well,
Well,
no,
there
it
was
wasn't
two
shooting.
after
Well, it
that.
wasn't a shooting, but the teacher did bring the gun to school up in, I think it was Gwinnett County.
Yes.
The teacher brought this gun. Yeah, and the kids had to
And
be
that's a
with it.
totally bad idea.
Yo,
Just by the way,
yeah, totally.
just
By the
pinpoint right
way.
there. That's a totally terrible idea. Let's just
Right.
put that out right now.
Well, I think this has been a very, very in-depth conversation.
Yes.
It's brought about some thought. I think we learned a couple of things. We know where Kim stands when it comes to due process, honey.
Right. Here we go.
But we certainly hope that you enjoyed the show. Please join us for our very first episode coming Wednesday at 7 o'clock on Facebook and on our YouTube channel as well. Keep up with us on all social media at Hips TV and follow us on Facebook at My Hips TV. This is Hips TV. We'll see you next time.
I'm Tanika West, and I'm a finalist. Matter of fact, I'm your finalist for Hips TV.